Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're joined here tonight in the studio by Dr. Saeid Hady, the former Dean of the Faculty of Medicine at Mansoura University. Dr. Hady, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Doctor, now, before we start talking about the medical and humanitarian supplies and aid that go into the Gaza Strip through the Rafah border crossing, how would you evaluate the situation or the Egyptian position that has been repeated since October 7th about the crisis, obviously against the displacement of the Palestinians from the Gaza Strip, anyway, because it would dissolve the whole Palestinian cause in general. How would you assess the firmness of this stance by Egypt?
First, it is a man-made crisis, as we said. Although it started on October the 7th by an attack by the Hamas, but there is what's called a proportionate reaction. We say at the upper hand they killed 1,200 Israelis, but now look what happened afterwards. Now we're coming to day 107, over 25,000 deaths and over 60 injured. So that is not a proportionate response. That's a genocide. Not only that, but taking into consideration that everything was mopped off, including the schools, the health facilities, the hospitals, the houses, the universities. Okay. Also, there was a blockade of all aspects necessary for life. There is blockade, there is no food, no water, no health facilities. Even the aid agents, which are protected by international law, they were killed. The journalists were killed or disposed. And the plan to forced disposal of these or keep kicking them into Sinai was the ultimate aim of the Israeli initiative. But that was faced by a very strong stand by Egypt for two reasons. Reason number one is for the Palestinian benefit. Forced disposal or transfer will end the Israeli case. There will be no state solution. The other thing is the Egypt territories have been for thousands of years belonging to the Egyptians, and not a single, I have said in the case before, not a single Egyptian will accept that. We have millions of refugees from around, but they came voluntarily and they will go out voluntarily also. But the cape to get them disposed forcibly and living in exile here, that will end the case of the Palestine. So Egypt has stand firmly hard on the political initiative, and I would praise the position of the president, which came as strong as expected, saying categorically no for forced disposal of the Palestinians, and we will not replace the Sinai with Gaza. That was moved forward by the international political field in the United Nations, in the Security Council, in the Foreign Ministry, and then as a consequence of that initiative, there was now reaching a dire humanitarian crisis. Egypt also has played a very significant role in that front because Egypt is the only cross-border between Gaza Strip and the world, outside border, not only Egypt. So Rafah, by the way, there are 6 other cross-borders between Palestine on Gaza and the Israel. None of them is all used to any aid or help or even deliver of anything. They are all blocked. The only one that is possibly take aid from the world is through the Rafah cross-border. And consequently, the medical aid, everything has to go through this way. So El Arish Airport was dedicated to receiving all the aid from the international, in addition to the aid from the Egyptians, which constitutes both formal governmental aid, represented by the Ministry of Health, which done great work, the Ministry of Social Solidarity as well, non-governmental organizations, over thousands and thousands, maybe 30,000 non-governmental organizations has delivered aid. And the liaison work between these all organizations was the Red Crescent of Egypt.
Yes.
On the other hand, the international aid, we cannot deny that, has been a very a good orchestrated international aid represented by the UN and all its agencies. There are 32 agencies in Egypt. All these have done great work, and the liaison work or the coordination between these has been the Egyptian Red Crescent. So all in all, as you started, this is a man-made crisis. Egypt has done its bit trying to bring together these two rivals, but so far nothing has happened, and we hope that in the near future there will be a ceasefire, an actual plan for a two-state solution or a peaceful treaty between both sides by the international negotiation.
Yes. Well, Doctor, it seems that, I mean, the numbers keep rising day by day, and there are almost a near total demolition of all hospitals within the Gaza Strip.
Yeah.
How are they dealing with the injured? I mean, Egypt, yes, is receiving a number of the severely injured Palestinians with their companions, but how are they surviving on medical treatment, or what sort of medical help are they having or servicing their injured in such a near total demolition of all hospitals?
Yeah. By the way, the humanitarian international law forbids all attacks on aid by all its forms, and number one of these is the health facilities. Mm-hmm. So the Israelis, what have done is they bombarded all the hospitals in their way from the north to the south, including today they bombarded what's called Nasser Hospital in the southern part of Gaza. So not only the health facilities, but also the aid workers working there and the doctors or physicians. It's a dire situation, and this is all against the humanitarian international law. These are protected by law, you know. If you are attacked, where you go to, even the mosques and the churches were attacked. But the hospitals which serve to get medical aid to the people were also bombarded. And we all remember the health facilities now come to a handful of working hospitals, but over 40 facilities have gone out of service. At first, because there was no fuel, and then there was no physicians, and then there is no blood facilities and medical equipments. Of course, there was aid from the international community coming through Larish, orchestrated or coordinated by the Egyptian Red Cross to reach to the Palestinian side or the Hamas side or the Gaza side, and again taking the counterpart from the Israelis. But we can know the situation and the scenario from the UN reports. There is a UN office here in Cairo, just outside this building. It tells the story of what Egypt has done for that. From the day of 7th of October till today, Egypt has mobilized its all facilities, equipments, and medical aid, and with orchestration or coordination with the international aid. But all in all, you go into the border of Gaza, you need to cross. Now the cross is controlled by the Israelis, and the other way there is no Palestinian authority. So they again search and do meticulous search, taking days. Instead of delivering aid in a day, it takes few days. Okay, so the situation is dire, and it gets worse day by day, and the number of death toll or the death toll is increasing. We don't know. As we said, violence will build more violence. Both sides seems to come together, and the international community, as the report says, need to pressurize both sides. And I'm aware that Egypt and Qatar are involved now with the Americans and the Israelis in trying to reach a deal, but so far, no light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, talking about the international community trying to have some sort of an influence and hold this aggression, and we've seen the visits by the UN Human Rights Refugee and the Secretary General, and we've seen the statement by the Jordanian Foreign Minister Ayman Safadi saying the world needs to take a stand. However, all this rhetoric really amounts is so far amounting to almost nothing. And even if a UN resolution is being passed or the UN Security Council, I mean, they're all vetoed. So I don't want to say there's no light at the end of the tunnel. There has to be some sort of light. What needs to be done?
Again, look at the international situation now at track. Israel is backed by the United States and protected by the veto. There has been 2 attempts in the United Nations Council, Security Council, come up with a veto. They moved into the UN Security or the General Assembly, which represents the conscience of the world. More than 150 nations voted in favor of the case, ceasefire. Israel didn't abide by. And now Israel is still backed by the Western, in particular the United States. So what can we do? There should be pressure for the United States. The irony is that there was pressure from the United States over the last 2 days, but Benjamin Netanyahu again turned the case out. He does not like to abide by pressure even from the States, although the whole bombardment, the bombs, even the air carrier came from the United States. So we are in a situation where the government in Israel has to find a solution, because it is a coalition of the ultra-hawk far right wing, and these do not believe in peace. Okay? The parties which believe in peace, including the Israelis, there is a reporter and a journalist called Gideon Levy, which says exactly what we're saying. He says Israel used to play the role of a victim. Now Israel is the assault. Israel is killing, destroying, and giving the image that is still the victim of the Nazis and something like that. So there are a campaign in Israel that has to move. Also, we have to support that campaign from the Arab side. We can need to come. And I can see in the Palestinian also there are very good voices like Barghouti. He's a nice guy, looks reasonable. And the faces needs to change, and the climate needs to change, and the world needs to get heavily involved, especially the states, to bring about a solution. Otherwise, violence will deliver more violence and slip into the region. The next step will not be Palestine and Israel, I'm afraid. It will have to be Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, and even, we don't like to say that, but at certain case, we may be entangled as well.
Dr. Abdul Hady, let's try and, I mean, everybody, especially in today's meeting, everybody's reiterating and praising the Egyptian stance and the Egyptian efforts in trying to get the humanitarian aid and the medical assistance, and not just getting the aid through the Rafah border crossing, but also Egypt has been receiving Palestinians, injured Palestinians and their companions on a daily basis. And you're very well informed regarding the hospital in Al-Arish and right outside the Rafah border crossing. Can you please fill us on the kind of details or the severity of the injuries that Egypt is receiving from the Palestinians, and how hard or what sort of services does Egypt provide for the injured?
Yeah, really from day 7 of October, the Egyptian Ministry of Health has moved and population has moved. They've done a failed hospital to receive first aid and then moved directly into Al-Arish and Bir Al-Abd. But also there was preparations for hospitals within the Delta region or in the Canal region, Port Saeid, Dumyat, Ismailia if needed. And they opened the cross for Rafah cross all the time, as we repeat. And Israel is in the court of law, in the international court of said Egypt is making a siege on the Palestinians. That was just an utter lie. It never happens. The crossing, it is the only crossing that 2.2 million in Gaza now are living. That is the only umbilical cord that connects into the outside world, because there is nothing coming from Israel except bombardment all the time. So all the injured were allowed to come in, and they moved either primary aid or directly to Al-Arish Hospital and even to Bir Al-Abd. The type of injuries was undescribable, because, we received some bodies which are, limbs cut out, faces, eyes lost, abdomen is torn apart, who arrived as living to Egypt were in a very devastating situation, you know. And some of them, there are footages of these who lost all the limbs, both eyes and facial trauma and all this kind of thing, because they simply bombarded the home, and who comes alive will be severely damaged and injured. I would say I have seen footages of the World War II in concentration camp in the Jews, and exactly the same footage are repeated after 75 years or so. So what was inflicted on the Jews by the Nazis is now the government of Israel and the army is causing the same damage to the Palestinians. And compare that with the Nelson Mandela Initiative and South Africa. The two live situations where human beings have been endangered in the last century was South Africa by the apartheid and the Jews by the Nazis. Look at the difference. The South Africans have now come to peace, stability, and represent the conscience of the world. They raised a case. Although they are not Muslims country, although it is not a major power, but they felt that making peace and giving dignity and independence to people will make more peace. Look at the other side and reaction of the Israeli government. They are making violence. Violence will bring more violence. And genocide is true because they are just mopping away everything in life. There are whole buildings, hundreds of buildings in streets, just become a very flattened earth. So for how long? For how long the international community would accept that? Now, I would say there is light at the end of the tunnel because the Europeans became proactive now. They said enough is enough. More than these, things are going to slip and the whole region will be endangered. And I would say to President Sisi said in the United Nations many years back, get peace for Palestinians to get peace for the Israelis. You know? Give dignity for the Palestinians, you will get dignity in the region. If you want to live in this area, peace and security will be the best. I call upon the Israelis, the Jews who I met. Some of them are very good provocative of peace and stability in the region, and against the initiative done by this government. But we need more pressure from the international community, and simply we need the war to stop, and then sit down and get your right to live in peace, and the Palestinians get the right to live in peace as well.
Yes. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, let's check out this report regarding the humanitarian aid trucks and the Egyptian and international assistance that has been going through the Rafah border crossings into the Gaza Strip, and we'll be right back.